As he said, my name is Sean Chandler. I've been a full-time film critic on YouTube for 6 years now. I started my YouTube channel on a whim in July of 2016, and 2.5 years later, I was lucky enough to go full-time talking about movies for a living, which is as fun and goofy as you'd expect it to be. And the funny part is now I have kids that are in elementary school and middle school, and I'll go to career day. They don't actually care that I watch movies for a living, film critic, talk to celebrities for a living. They don't care, but I'm a YouTuber, and every elementary school age kid is just obsessed with that. They think I know Mr. Beast because they really do not understand how YouTube works, and that I work from my house 2 blocks away from the school. But so anyway, in terms of being a film critic, I am Rotten Tomatoes certified, so if you ever get mad about Rotten Tomatoes score, you can yell at him and tell him to text me to yell at me about the outrageous scores at Rotten Tomato. I'm a certified critic over there. I am a member of Critics' Choice, which for what I do is basically the biggest critics association I can be a part of. Back in February, I went to the Critics' Choice Awards show, which you can see right here, which is a nationally televised awards show that pretty much everyone that was nominated for big awards was at. So my wife and I tried to walk up to Ariana Grande and talk to her. We got closer to her than we are right now, but she was talking to someone else and was crying, and we went, probably shouldn't interrupt that conversation. So I turned around, bumped into Jeff Goldblum, who is also in Wicked and Jurassic Park and 1,000 other movies. Didn't even realize it till I walked past and I went, I just bumped into Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park and then had to rush back to my seat. But if you know who Margaret Qualley is, it's been in a bunch of movies the last several years. She was in front of me in line to get ice cream, since they didn't serve us dinner, but they did serve us pretzels and ice cream. And so essentially I can say I ate ice cream with her, which is not really true. But I also do celebrity interviews. So earlier this year, Jack Quaid came to town, so interviewed Jack Quaid, do quite a few of those. And then I'm a regular news contributor in Bakersfield, California, which is funny because I live in Hutto, Texas, which is nowhere near Bakersfield, California. But the anchorman was a subscriber to my channel and went, hey, want to review movies every couple of weeks in Bakersfield? And I was like, sure. So now that's a fairly regular thing. And from time to time, I am on Dr. Phil's Merit TV in the morning. I haven't actually spoken to Dr. Phil, but I am on his network from time to time, which once again is very surreal that that's a thing that I can say about my life. But Professor Sean gave me a series of questions to answer in regards to when did I first start getting into marketing, YouTube, being a film critic. It's kind of a very big hodgepodge of all sorts of different questions that all sort of tie into this, and the eclectic life that I've lived, they all kind of pull together. And so tried to have whatever lessons about marketing I've learned along the way and what you can look at movies and take away from some of those different pieces. So yes, what were you doing before all of this? My actual degrees are in Bible and Bible teaching. I was the associate pastor at my church. I wanted to be the youth pastor, but they needed me to do too many different things. So I was essentially the junk drawer pastor. So most of my job was being the youth pastor. I was also a backup preacher. I was over communication. In any other stupid random thing they needed someone to do, they always gave it to me to do, which was kind of exhausting. So he asked, when did your love for marketing start? Well, essentially, my introduction to the world of marketing, I didn't even realize it was my introduction to the world of marketing, but way back before even Youth Pastor Sean, there was Pretend Rock Star Sean. So this is me back when I was your age. And man, did I have amazing hair choices back in the day. But I was in several ska punk bands. Literally dozens of people saw us throughout the years. Now, if you remove family members and friends, then it gets down to about 5 people that ever saw us. Wasn't successful at any of this, but the thing that I learned even in failure was if you want people, actually principle number 1 on marketing, pretty basic. No one's gonna write this down and go, my mind was just blown by this incredible sentiment. But at the same time, if you want people to know about your product, you have to tell them about it. So pretty quickly we started playing as a band in a garage and we went, we want people to listen to us. What do we need to do? We have to tell them about us. We want to play live, we have to tell them that we exist. So we had to create a demo to demonstrate what we can do and send it out to clubs. Now, they rejected us because it was terrible, but at least we learned to even have them tell us no, we have to tell them about us. That is, on the one hand, such a basic marketing concept that no one needs to write that down. And at the same time, it's so easy for it to be overlooked in so many different things that happen. But so we looked up every club in the area, reached out to them, and then we had to tell all of our friends. This was all pre-social media, so we didn't get to play that game at all. But that was a starting point. And even the reason I say this is that, like, I exist in the world of movies, and basic concept, if you want people to go see your movie, you have to tell people about your movie. So generally speaking, however much big, gigantic movies they spend to create the movie, they spend that exact same amount to market the movie. A $150 million movie will have a $100 million marketing campaign. $30 million horror movies have $50 million marketing campaigns because no one will go see the film if no one is talking about it. Last month, one of the things people kept talking about was Sydney Sweeney and her jeans. There's gigantic controversy about her American Eagle ad, and every headline was about her and her jeans. And there's always a million headlines all about her. She also released 2 different movies last month. 2 different movies. One of them, she's wearing jeans on the cover or on the poster for the movie. But neither one of these movies used the fact that everyone was talking about her to promote their movies. So Americana opened in theaters 2 weeks after in the window of time where everyone was talking about her, and the movie made $500,000, which is nothing. 1 week later, this movie called Eden came out, also starring her. Also starring Jude Law, Ana de Armas, Vanessa Kirby, and Daniel Brohl, all of which are movie stars, and it's directed by Ron Howard, who has won Oscars and directed enormous films that made tons of money. It made $3 million. Why? Because nobody knew either one of these movies came out. They had no marketing budgets. They were not promoted whatsoever. So that basic idea that I figured out is a really dumb 20-year-old in an awful band, you have to tell people about it. Both of these movies forgot to do that, which is, like I said, marketing malpractice. When you have someone that every single headline in every trade is about her, and you have a movie starring her, and you do absolutely nothing to capitalize on that, you are completely insane and just left money on the table. But after these 2 movies came out in back-to-back weeks where everyone was talking about her and she had flops, there was just a series of headlines that once again were all about her. Her horrible summer of flops. Box office bombs. She is the headline. She is the picture. And in both cases, all of this was after the fact. All they had to do was tap into the fact that people can't stop writing headlines about her. Last week, she has a 3rd movie that she has coming out that played at the Toronto Film Festival, and she showed up and she said, "I will not talk about jeans this week. I only want to talk about the movie I'm promoting." That was a headline. She won't talk about jeans. She only wants to talk about, and then there was the title of the movie. The 3rd movie she had come out after all of this finally learned they can't stop talking about her. Let's use that to get them to talk about the movie that's coming out. So now people are talking about, will this movie, Chrissy, which the trailer dropped today, save her career? Will she get acting awards? All this stuff. They're talking about the movie before it comes out. Anyway, all that to say, once again, simple lesson. If you don't tell people about your product, people won't know about it. And as basic as that is, 2 different movies. One of them cost $50 million and had 5 movie stars, and they told no one about it, so no one went to go see it. And I saw the movie. It's a good enough movie about something interesting that happened. No one went to go see it because no one heard of it. moving right along, when did I start to love marketing? The other piece that was kind of huge in me getting into the world of marketing is that working at a church, being the youth pastor, you don't think about it this way, but a huge part of what you do is marketing. It's promoting events. Constantly trying to get people to sign up for things, show up for things. I'm actually not very good at being a pastor, but I'm pretty good at promoting things and hyping things. So in Hutto, Texas, they actually ran a front page article about my ministry in Hutto, Texas. This isn't particularly, nothing happens there, so it's not the most sensational thing, but how often do newspapers run front page articles about random youth ministries in town? Not very often, but the reason that happened is because we were actively trying to do really interesting things. And so one of the things that I came up with the language for it, or heard it from someone else later on, but marketing starts with product development. So in the world of Churchworld, if I want people to show up to an event, start with doing something that's actually interesting that gets people talking about it. There's a zillion dodgeball nights, basketball nights, pizza nights that everybody's done. Every youth group that's ever existed has done these, and not one of them is remotely interesting. If you want something that actually gets momentum and changes things, you have to do something that is actually different. And so that's what we were just trying to do is every single week, can we do something that creates FOMO? Can we do something that creates an image in people's minds? And so just started coming up with events where start with an interesting experience that people would actually want to do that you can't experience other places. So whether that was gross things, where one time I was holding a cow's tongue the whole time I was preaching, whether it was smashing tables or boxing and turning church into a very violent, it was actually a very gross, violent youth group. That was my whole tactic. That was pretty much my whole strategy. But it got people talking, and it made people go, I want to bring my friend to this weird thing. What's something that gets them excited and something they want to experience with a friend? And so they start promoting it. So starting with whatever I'm going to do, can I have something that has an interesting image that goes along with it? Then I have to create graphics or whatever to get teenagers excited for it. So a lot of times we would create little stupid videos with students so that that's something that they could share on social media with their friends. They'd make the video with me, they'd want to share it. All of a sudden, these high schoolers are my marketing department for my youth events that I'm doing, and they're part of the creative process of coming up with something wacky because they just have their finger on the pulse better than I did. And likewise, because teenagers are irresponsible, you have to communicate to their parents because their parents are the ones that have schedules and drive them places. So what do I need to do to build systems to promote things to their parents? At the event, how do I make sure that I film everything that happens, take pictures of everything that happens, and then this is before all kids had phones in their pockets, so the fact that we took pictures and shared them on the internet meant we were the ones doing that for them, creating the memory that's shared on the internet. But so afterwards, always share it on the internet so that people see it. And so do something interesting, worth talking about, record it, share it on the internet, and make it as easy as possible for everyone else to share it on the internet. And just kind of I heard a marketer, I think it was Seth Godin, say, we don't stop to think about the word remarkable enough. We normally almost oversell the word remarkable. Well, that's remarkable. You just look at the word, remark-able. Are you doing something you are able to make remarks about? Are you doing something worth talking about? And in youth ministry, pizza night is not worth talking about. If you show up with a mechanical bull, most people haven't ridden a mechanical bull and they go, wow, I rode a mechanical bull last night. What? You did what? Yeah, here's the video. And all of a sudden, every kid that shares the video of them cracking their skull open at my event is promoting my youth ministry and generating excitement for it. So that was just kind of one of those ones of just early on, before even doing YouTube, having this mindset of how do I do something that generates buzz and excitement? Or to phrase it another way, are you doing something boring and trying to manufacture excitement? Or are you doing something exciting and you just need to tell people about it? And that's, when you think of the world of marketing products, how many products are really boring, not remotely interesting, so you're trying to manufacture excitement for soap or whatever? As opposed to if someone creates something fresh, new, and interesting, the fresh, new, and interesting sells itself. And that's, once again, if you're doing an event, that is inherently fascinating, that makes people go, I've never ridden a mechanical bull. I don't know what other dumb things. I don't remember what we did. I've never done this before and I don't want to miss it. That's much easier to promote and get people excited about than doing the same things as everyone else. So that's all background stuff of that. When I tell people that I grew my YouTube channel in 2.5 years, most people are like, wow, that's really fast. Well, that's a little bit misleading because I also was promoting other events, did video announcements at my church, gave weekly sermons, all of which gave me a skill set that was very complementary for turning my hobby into something bigger. So moving right along to the world of YouTube and my YouTube channel. And so the question was asked, why movies? Why YouTube? Well, the simple answer is I've just always loved movies. Way back in 1998, I put up my very first movie webpage. This is it. That is the best that you could do with Microsoft Paint back in 1998. Did anyone happen to go to Westwood High School? So I graduated from Westwood High School, just a few miles from here. And so designed this at Westwood High School. And it is hideous. It had every goofy thing that websites did in the 90s. Used it for a short period of time, but it was just what I have always done is like to share my opinions. I like at the end of the day, I've created something in the world. So that was a web page in the 90s and the zeros. It was having bands that nobody listened to. And then finally I had success with YouTube. The journey starting onto YouTube in July of 2016, the new Ghostbusters movie came out. And half the internet was like, if you like this movie, it's because you're an idiot. And the other half of the internet, it was like, if you don't like this movie, it's because you're a sexist. And I was like, you know, maybe there's room in the middle for a normal opinion about just a goofy movie. So this is literally the picture that we took that like turned out to be this life-changing date night, and we had a stupid Snapchat filter on the picture that memorialized the event. But then next day, just shot a video of myself using the webcam on my computer, and as it turned out, that changed the entire trajectory of my life. So why YouTube? The reality is I'd done a zillion things and failed at before, whether a web page, blogging. I blogged for years and years and years and never really had much success. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and it is owned by Google, which is the largest search engine in the world. And YouTube, as opposed to other platforms, is designed with I guess the first one, now almost all of them, at the time this wasn't a thing. Now TikTok and everything else does this too, but YouTube at the time was the system that was designed to connect content to people, or algorithm-based is which everything is now. But to this day, the thing that gives YouTube the advantage over TikTok and Instagram is that it's both search-based, browse-based, and algorithm-based at the same time, which means that your older content is much easier to surface and be found by people than on TikTok, which is just so much, it just feeds what people watch. At YouTube, you search for things, the browse feature just create more options that that's essentially what happened. So I did blogging for years, had no success, started on YouTube, and within a couple of weeks, I had a video get like 3,000 views, and I was like, wait a minute, I've barely had this success blogging in 8 years, and I'm like, hustling the best I can everywhere to try and get my articles places, and no one watches them. I just posted it on YouTube, and YouTube just pumps it out to people. I think I'm gonna keep doing this. And because I'd worked in Churchworld, just speaking is much more fluent and easier for me than writing. Where to sit down and write is, like I write notes, but I don't write for other people to read it. I have gigantic lesson plan notes, which he made fun of me for looking like I preached a lot, but he was 100% correct. But it's written for me to work off it. He couldn't use it. As opposed to blogging, you have to be able to write full thoughts, which just took much longer. In creating video, I could just do it much faster. I did a lot of video editing, so it just became the thing that was most natural for me to do. So to kind of, how long did it take before I started to see success? It took me 9 months to get my first 1,000 subscribers. And at the time I was like, 1,000 subscribers, this is incredible. Like, wow, I don't have anywhere close to that after 8 years of blogging. And at the same time I was like, okay, but it's also only 1,000 subscribers and I made $11 last month. And Actually, that's not true. I made $21 is what happened because I started Patreon. My mom signed up. So I got adult allowance, $10 from my mom plus $11 from YouTube. I made $11, like $21. You can't, it doesn't even pay a bill that feeds you one meal. And so I was thinking about quitting, but then I went like, all right, let me like dive into this. What actually is working here? If I do a movie review, it gets 100 views. If I do a ranking of a franchise, it gets 500 views. I'm not very good at math, but 500 is more than 100. What if I make that the priority? So every week I decided to do a ranking of whatever franchise had a new movie come out. So it's Pirates of the Caribbean and Aliens and of course a Marvel movie, a DC movie or whatever. And so I did that, and then it only took me 3 months to get my second 1,000 subscribers. I was like, okay, well that trick worked. And then I went, if I don't just do one ranking per week, what if I do 2? That's what people want, that's where there's demand. So I'll also rank the old franchises that I love that don't happen to have a new entry. So I did that, and it kept growing. And then after several months of doing this, the movie Thor Ragnarok came out, and I went, what if I designed the video for what I would actually watch? My videos have been like 40 minutes long. What if I did one that was 10 to 15 minutes long and tried to just make it more concise, a little bit funnier, and a little bit better editing? And suddenly that video got 300,000 views, and my channel ended up adding 1,000 subscribers in 2 days. We're like, okay, 9 months to get the first 1,000, and then 2 days to get like 5,000 to 6,000 or something like that. And so then I started to kind of like, okay, that's an important lesson right there. And then the follow-up lesson a little bit after that was when Black Panther came out a few months later. I went, okay, I don't have to just rank franchises. What if I also talk about characters, use this package that people like it when I do these numbered lists for other things. And so I did kind of 3 of these numbered lists in a week. And to this day, 2 of the videos I did that week are 2 of my 3 most viewed long form videos. One of them's got about 1 million views, and the other one has like 800,000 views. And those are still my top long form video, most watched videos. And that kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And kind of built into that, what I kind of started to learn with some of that, if you make the same product as everyone else, you compete with everyone else. And in the world of YouTube, this is what people ask me advice on starting a movie channel all the time, and this is what I scream and shout at them all of the time. There has not been a shortage of YouTube movie reviews in 13 years, since before I started. Like the amount of demand from the marketplace was saturated over 10 years ago. And since then, it's only become just this absolute crowd of people. Everyone gets to hit record, share their opinions about movies, but there's not a big enough demand from people to consume that. So like my channel has never grown from me just reviewing movies, despite the fact that I describe myself as a film critic, despite the fact that I'm in critics associations, told you about going to awards shows, and I'm Rotten Tomatoes certified. That's how I have like prestige in my career. Being a YouTuber is something different. They're like 2 different things. What grows me as film critic guy is not what grows me as YouTuber guy. You have to do something different. Even you mentioned the video that you watched recently on my channel. You did not say, hey, I watched your movie review. Because you didn't say, like, that's not where there's much demand for. What you said was, hey, I watched that video where you were like ripping other people's bad takes because it was a more interesting interesting idea and other people aren't making that video as much.
I do like the reviews.
I appreciate it.
But I do like the interesting comment.
And that's the thing, is like having that base level of movie reviews. If you want to talk about movies, people do want to know your opinion. But that's people that are already subscribed, that already like you. Those are the people that watch a movie review. People that don't know you don't care what you have to say about a movie, like whatsoever. And even now that short form has become so extensive, people are much more interested, like what's my 2-3 minute version of a movie, usually not the long form version. And so put up my short form review of The Conjuring and it gets 50,000 views and my long form one gets 10,000 views. Because that short one, they just want like, what did he feel about it? Like quick thoughts. They don't need the long version of it. But then my video talking about the whole franchise did 3-4 times as many views as the review itself, which goes back to the starting point of all of this. But so much. If you make the same product, if you make the same videos as everyone else, you compete against everyone else. So how do you stand out? How do you do something different in the space? And kind of little phrase I heard from a guy named Todd Henry said, cover bands don't change the world. When you're starting out doing something like YouTube, it's okay to copy the people that inspired you because you just need at-bats. Every band starts as a cover band. The Beatles changed the world of music. They started as a cover band. They did not change the world as a cover band. They got really good playing together, and then they started writing their own music, and things started to change. So if you want to grow, it starts with a unique idea. If you want to grow, you need to stand out. Like, you just have to find a way to cut through all of the noise in the crowd. In particular, on something like YouTube, where thousands and thousands and thousands of videos are uploaded every single day. And you think, whatever thing you're interested in, there's hundreds or thousands of videos that cover that same subject matter. So how on earth do you stand out in such a noisy and crowded space? Or just to throw that up as a question, are you adding to the noise or standing out? I don't know how common there anymore. Back in the day, Where's Waldo was incredibly popular. So you'd have this guy that if you normally saw this guy in public, he would immediately stand out. But this guy that's wearing stripes and bright colors, they put him in these incredibly busy graphics with a bunch of similarly patterned items and similarly colored schemes, in which case suddenly it's difficult to find Waldo. So you buy these books, Where's Waldo? And I actually tried to find him in here. I wasn't able to. I zoomed in. I was running short on time. I did not find him, but to use Seth Godin again, can you find the purple cow? Yeah, it's really easy to find a purple cow in this because it is a different color scheme and a different pattern than everything else, and so it immediately stands out. Seth Godin wrote a very famous book called The Purple Cow. If you're driving down the street, here in Texas in particular, if you see a group of cows, you don't notice any one cow. If you drove and you looked over and you saw a purple cow, everyone in the car was like, did you see that? You pull out your phone, you're like, there's a purple cow, because it's immediately interesting and stands out. And that, in the world of YouTube, in the world of even marketing in general, in the world of movies coming out, everything is about finding a way to cut through all of the noise and stand out. And as I said before, so much that starts with, do you have something interesting? It starts with product development. Do you have something that people want, that is useful, that is interesting? Has anyone found him? I literally zoomed in and went through the whole thing. I mean, I have old eyes, so I don't know that it would have worked anyway, but I was very unsuccessful in my own efforts to find Waldo in the graphic. All right, then he asked, how do you actually make a living doing YouTube? This is the question my mom asked. Hey mom, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to do YouTube full time. My mom did not understand. Instead, like, I don't understand how you make money. Well, if 1 million people watch something and you put ads on it, 1 million ads run and that adds up eventually. So these are ranked from fifth, this is the one I make the least money on, first is the one I make the most money on. And by the end of the year, number 3 on this one could pretty easily move to number 2 if current trajectories hold. Number 5, affiliate links or affiliate marketing, which if you don't know what it is, essentially, simplest way to describe it, Amazon has an affiliate program where any item on Amazon.com, I can go there, I can create a link for their product. I'm talking about, hey, I just watched Pirates of the Caribbean. If you want to buy the Blu-ray, here's the one that I bought. I've got a link down below in the description. They click on my link and I will make 5 cents off of them purchasing the Pirates of the Caribbean Blu-ray. And then it puts a cookie on their computer, and anything they purchase in the next 24 hours, I get credit for sending them to Amazon. So for me, this is in 5th place because it just doesn't translate very well with what I do. People don't click on one of my videos with the intent to buy something, so there's not very many contexts where an affiliate link is actually effective at converting someone to a sale. I have had success with Audible affiliates where anytime someone signs up for a free trial of Audible using my link, I get $15. So anytime a movie is based off of a book, I promote Audible. And if someone signs up for a free trial, I get $15. But it just, like, people are not clicking on a video looking to buy a product. Conversely, product review channels, like a small fraction of my size can make a killing with affiliate links. Because if you're looking to buy a camera and you're like, should I get the Canon M50 or the Sony A6400? You go on YouTube and you search for Canon M50 versus Sony A6400. You then go to a video that walks you through the pros and cons of these two very popular cameras. And then it says, if you want to buy one, this is this package I bought. It's that link down below. The second link is the A6400. That is exactly what I did in 2019 when I bought a Canon M50 because that was the better purchase. And I used the link on somebody's video. And then a few years later when, no, I want something better. And I bought a Sony A6400. I went to a video, watched it, and I clicked on their link, and someone made a bunch of money because I did that. And a $1,600 camera, a 10% commission on that is this $160. So these tech review channels, whether computers, iPhones, whatever it is, they make an absolute killing because people have the intent to purchase when they click on a review for a product like that. For me, it doesn't work nearly as well. Anyway. Number 4, sponsorships. It's I find sponsorships to be like a nice little something to have a couple of those each month where I'll do a couple videos where I'll promote a product or something like that. But generally speaking, they're kind of a hassle. They're just not fun to do because I didn't get into this because I want to promote products. So it's nice to have other sources of income to balance things out. But if you do one video per week that gets 100,000 views per video, it makes a lot of sense to try to get 4 sponsorships that month, because if you consistently get 100,000 views per video, that's a really nicely paying sponsorship, and it's really easy to get nicely paying sponsorships for that type of channel. I post almost daily, and I'll have 5,000 views one day, and I'll have 50,000 views the next day. It's very difficult to get sponsors, and I'm doing so many videos, it's just a hassle to try and do sponsors. And I get enough views that I'm not huge into sponsorships, but like also have some of them. And from time to time, I get like ones that they pay crazy good. So it's stupid to turn the money down. Third one on there is TikTok. This is one that it took like 2 years of making 0 money on TikTok, and then I started making very, very amounts of money on TikTok. And then the last 2 months, I've made as much money on TikTok as I have from YouTube AdSense. So if that stays the same as it's been, then that will be a very good year for me. I'll really appreciate that. But just TikTok it's like the wild, wild west. They're figuring it out. So sometimes they throw a lot of money at you if you're having success. And that's what they did to me the last 2 months. So I appreciate that. Number 2 is Patreon, a membership site. For me, what I use Patreon is essentially I do a lot of live streams over there. So if you like my content, want more access to me, want to be able to ask me questions, go over here for as little as $2 per month. You can ask me questions, and there's a whole kind of community over there. But so then what I do is I'll do Q&As where whatever questions people ask, the most popular questions, I clip those out and I put them on a second channel. So now I'm making AdSense on all of my Patreon videos too. But every one of these clips that I pulled from Patreon, at the end of it, I put a plug for Patreon. So the clips of Patreon promote Patreon, and Patreon is used to create content for the channel that promotes Patreon. So it's just like a nice little marketing loop that has multiple revenue streams to it. That is as soon as I figured out that little system, I was like, oh, that is a nice little cheat to generate a lot more content with dramatically less work than it would normally take. So even the video that you watched that was pulled from Patreon, normally to create a video like that I would expect the number of views that video would get, would take writing a video, shooting it, editing it, would take this long period of time, brainstorming it. This was literally, they sent in an article to me, I just opened it up and read the article and reacted to it, did marginal editing on it, and then now it's promoting my Patreon as well as bringing in AdSense, and it's an exclusive video that was a live stream exclusive to Patreon. But my number 1 source is AdSense, which is the built-in YouTube ad program. You get on YouTube, ads run. 60% of that money goes to the creator, 40% goes to YouTube. So if you're getting 1 million views per month, you're getting somewhere between $3,000 to $10,000 per month from AdSense, depending on your audience. So I have a pretty global audience and a lot of teenagers, so mine doesn't pay the best. But if you're, once again, a tech review channel that has a bunch of 45-year-old men that are looking up iPhones, all of a sudden there's a bunch of really high-paying ads that go to them. Or people that are looking up cryptocurrency and or gambling, those just have incredibly high ad rates. But anyway, that's how I make my money on YouTube. And then kind of one thing I also wanted to throw in here on this is that one of the thoughts I had was, as soon as I realized, wait a minute, all these companies are paying, they value at the bare minimum hundreds of dollars to get an ad spot in one of my videos. That is what the market says that me shouting something out is worth. As soon as I put that together, I went, okay, wait a minute, why would I not in every single one of my videos shout out something that is me? Why would I not promote? Of all the things I've created, if someone liked this video, what else have I done that they would like? What else have I created? Or sometimes they are just kind of the random other things. Hey, I also have this thing over here, whether promoting my own Patreon, promoting other channels, promoting different things. Always promote something inside of my video because the market has determined that is worth hundreds of dollars. So I'm throwing away hundreds of dollars of marketing that I could be giving to myself if I don't do that. Okay. Next question you kind of had on here was, how much is brand voice versus playing the algorithm? So the general idea of, in the world of YouTube, there's how much of it is I just love what I'm doing, how much of it is you're playing the YouTube game, how much of it is I'm just creating what the algorithm wants. I would say it boils down to what your goals are at the particular moment. If you're starting out and you're trying to stand out and make a name for yourself, you are in a phase where your priority should be playing the algorithm. Like when you're starting out, if you don't have traction, your goal is to figure out how to get traction. What does the algorithm respond to? But also the algorithm is responding to what people respond to. So you're just trying things. One of the questions, I forgot to talk about this earlier, but like you asked kind of what were some of my early failures, what are the things I tried in my first year. And during my first year, those 9 months before I started doing the weekly rankings, I did a movie trivia show. I tried to do weekly or daily movie news. I just tried to do hot rants and stuff, do screamy rants. I tried to do all the crazy, dive into just controversial subject matter. I tried everything, just what sticks, and tried to iterate in what is sustainable. Like when I did the movie trivia show with other creators, it was a great community builder. People that already subscribed loved it, but no new people watched, because why would they care about me doing movie trivia if they don't know who I am? There's no interest. So it was a great community builder, but I wasn't in a phase where I could dedicate a bunch of time to a community activity when my community's this big. If I did it now, it would be much more successful because I'm bigger and I know people that are bigger. But trying to figure out what phase you're in. Do you have the flexibility to dive into what you're passionate about? When you're starting out, it is all about growth. And that's where it's really difficult in the world of YouTube, and that's to turn that side of your brain off. By now, I'm at a size that it's very sustainable, that it's pretty easy for me to keep this going and have the flexibility to say, what do I want to do? I don't need to do what everyone, I get thousands of comments per day. There's always telling me to do something else in some other show, some other movie I need to cover. I can't cover it all, so I need to be able to say no. What do I want to do? And I have the flexibility to do that now. But that was after about a 3-year grind from 2016, pretty much until COVID hit in 2020, of working really hard to figure out what worked, how to make it sustainable, and figuring out what work do I not mind doing? What work can I keep doing that's not, I know some people that they grew huge followings where they're doing shorts, doing something, and they basically trapped themselves in their own success because they grew doing something they don't enjoy. And they love long form discussions, nuanced takes, and they grew doing these shorts. And now they're like, man, I want to convert my short audience into long form audience. But what you win people with is what you win them to, and you can't do that. So you don't want to trap yourself into a corner that you hate your job. You own your job. You have the dream job of being a content creator for yourself, but you're trapped doing something you don't actually want or enjoy. Or I know some people that have wild success, but they're not respected in the space by their peers because it is kind of the shock value, short form shenanigans, but they want to be a serious reviewer. And they're trapped as goofy TikToker. And you talk to them in person and they almost feel embarrassed by their success. And on the one hand, like they have 1 million followers on TikTok, but you talk to them and it didn't fulfill them the way they thought because it's not what they actually wanted. So it's really tough to find that, like how you both stand out, find something you're good at, find something people want, and find work that you'll actually be proud of.
It does that. We'll talk about it.
We're back. That's good.
Also, time check. We have about 10 minutes to move on to the Q&A.
Okay. So, what marketing skills do I use every day? I would refer to titles and thumbnails as essentially the packaging of YouTube. That the video is the content itself. Do you have a great product? That's the video, and the thumbnails. And so almost every day you're trying to come up with packaging for videos. And then the other one on here is that in the world of YouTube, in terms of marketing, it is all about the attention economy. Like every single day, my job is to try and figure out how to get people to pay attention to me. What can I do to stand out? So like, why am I recording this talk right now, asking him to take pictures after we finish class? I'm like, hey, can we do a quick photo shoot? I need to get some pictures around campus that in front of the sign. Like, why am I gonna do that? Because I'm gonna post it on the internet because most other YouTubers, people that do what I do, don't have someone that's a college professor and they don't have a history of public speaking, so they don't get to do this. So just me doing this is something that makes me stand out. There's little portions of this talk that I designed thinking I can clip that out onto TikTok, I can clip that out into a YouTube video to market the fact that I have a talk of this and market the fact that I do this. If I want to be able to do this more often, I need to let people know that I do it. So this is the third time I've been here, and last year, I flew into Nashville for a quick little event, and I landed, I posted, hey, I'm in Nashville. Someone that attended the Nashville Film Institute DM'd me and said, hey, I know sometimes you speak at college classes because I spoke in this exact college class. Would you be interested in speaking at the Nashville Film Institute? I'm like, sure, I'd love to if you can get me a classroom. He goes, okay, I'll go talk to my professor. Within an hour, he says, yeah, I can get you a classroom at this time. Within 24 hours, I was lecturing at the Nashville Film Institute. The only reason that happened is because the last time I was here 2 years ago, I set up my phone right there, recorded it, posted on the internet, took pictures with my wife, and posted it on the internet. And so someone at the Nashville Film Institute happened to know that this is something I do. If you want people to know what you do, know about your product, your skills, you have to tell them about them. And so just doing whatever you can to kind of get attention. Since I'm running out of time, I guess looping back on the Sydney Sweeney one, she is great at getting people to pay attention to her and make headlines about her. Like just nonstop people keep, like she just has that ability to stay in the headlines despite the fact that how many actual big hit movies has she had, how much of it is based off of her like performances, prestige, box office success. It's fairly limited. But she has the ability to get people's attention. That's kind of what my job is. Figure out how to get people to pay attention to my videos. And then don't underestimate hustle, grind, and networking. Just how did I get on the press list? I sent a bunch of emails to PR companies. And suddenly I was able to see movies for free, which saved me money, and I saw them before other people, so that was a slight advantage. Why am I speaking here right now? Because 6 years ago, someone invited me onto their podcast. I didn't know who it was. We had a mutual friend. I don't even remember exactly how. So it's Jake Box, so through church, Jake Box, but I don't even remember exactly how you knew of my existence to even know that you could invite me. Like, it's just like a random connection, because it's like Jake Box isn't someone that even I went to church with him in the 90s. So someone that I went to church with literally before any of you were born is our mutual connection in the year 2019, 20 years after Jake graduated from high school, and we were no longer in the same place. And then we meet on your podcast, and here we are now speaking in your class, which also led to me speaking at the Nashville Film Institute. It's just basic networking, keeping connections, and letting all these people kind of out there know what you do, and just that those little hustle, little grind, little moments make so much of a big difference. Yes, what are some of the best marketing campaigns for movies? The one that immediately came to mind was Deadpool, a movie that Fox didn't want to make. They refused to make it for 5 years. Ryan Reynolds made a demo reel. It was only revealed last week. He leaked it to the public. Everyone assumed it was him, but it wasn't confirmed until last week. He leaked this demo footage that they made because he thought if people saw it, they would want to see the movie. He could have been prosecuted for doing that. He leaks the footage on the internet. People love it. And so within 24 hours, they greenlit the movie with a very modest budget. And they started doing just like real viral marketing campaign stuff. So even in talking about what the movie would be rated, hopefully you could hear this.
And I heard the movie studio just announced that they're aiming for a PG-13 rating.
Yeah, we're working to working to keep the spirit of the comic book alive.
I think it's smart, man, that you guys keep it family-friendly. There may be a billion reasons to make a family-friendly movie, as in sequels and toys. And listen, Ryan, if
Heath Slater. April Fools.
Deadpool will, of course,
Be rated R.
Just immediately was the one that came to mind, because without having to play a clip from the movie, you immediately knew the attitude of this film. It's rowdy, it's raunchy, we're like, of course it's rated R. If you think it's going to be violent, irreverent, and that's an interview clip a year before the movie came out, and you immediately know what this film is. And it went on to become the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, a movie they did not want to make, based on a character that was not that popular at that time. And then the sequel made a little bit more money, and then the third one made a lot more money. 3 back-to-back highest grossing R-rated movies of all time. How did they do it? Differentiated themselves. They had a product people wanted, and they found a way to stand out with their marketing. We already did that. Final thought on here. If you asked me if I was going to start over, if I were to start my own channel again in the year 2025, what would I do? First I would do is I would study the market, and I would immediately look to see what is the most oversaturated content, and I would avoid that like the plague. Like I said, movie reviews, I wouldn't even waste my time with it because there's no possible way to stand out. I had this thought years and years ago. It was actually about Christian music, but like so much creative stuff, it feels like creative inbreeding, where I've purchased, made, performed in church worship bands forever, so I can pick on it because it's my own community. But like so much of it, it's creative inbreeding. If you scroll through channels and you get to the Christian music channel, you know you're on the Christian music channel because it all kind of has that same production to it, same way that they layer vocals and harmonies, structure the songs. Christian music is like influenced by past Christian music. If you want to be successful in this space, you can't be successful by copying the other people around you. You just become generic brand of your favorite thing. So what would I do? I would see what's popular and avoid that in the space, and I'd look outside my own space. I'd look to see what is going on over there in sports, what is happening on TikTok that is not on YouTube yet, what is in sports that's not in the movie space yet, what's going on in other places that's successful, that idea translates over to here. So it's familiar. It's not like this crazy outside the box, nobody knows what it is. It's familiar, but it's not here yet. So combining two ideas that people understand, merging them together, and that's even when I started doing movie rankings. I did not invent movie rankings, but the way that I did them, people weren't doing on YouTube the way that I was doing them. They were like ranker.com, that it was just this generic list. It was faceless. I went, what if there's a face to it? There's a personality, the way that people are doing this with movie reviews. What if I do that with rankings? That's what I did back in the day, and that's what I would try to do again. And it's all about looking outside your space, pulling influence from out here and pulling it in. All right. There we go.
51 of the current top 100 CCLI songs are written by the same 6 people. So
Sounds about right.
It is homogenous.
Yeah. And it was 15 years ago when I was much more into that world. It's like, well, there's Chris Tomlin's name shows up so often on this list. And then it's the same exact churches, they're creative. You see it over and over and over again. And those are the same ones that every church sings, that influences those people to create music just like it.
No doubt. Well, first of all, round of applause. That was great. I also owe you, because one of the big questions, one of the big things you keep saying in marketing is, what's one thing that you can do that nobody else can do? Which I think really speaks to what you were getting at as well, of basically finding your own lane and not trying to do the incestuous thing. I think that's important. But with that, I want to open up any questions for Sean around how he built the channel, how he approaches marketing, lettering.
Did you like make any mistakes on the way, during your YouTube channel career?
I like that actually was one of the questions that he asked. I wouldn't say that I actually made any big, gigantic mistakes that kind of pushed me in the wrong direction. But one of the big reasons for that is that my YouTube career started over 15 years into me doodling around in other things. So I screwed up with 1998 Jackie Chan fan web page that I made when I was a student at Westwood High School. So I screwed up there, and it wasn't consistent. I was basically illiterate, and so didn't go anywhere. And then I started doing blogs, but I was inconsistent. I didn't have a clear boundary for what I was trying to do. So it just turned it completely into junk drawer writing, like just chasing trends, writing about whatever. And like even the name of what the blog was would change every 6 months as I was trying to figure out what to do. So there was no boundaries, there was no clear brand. If you liked one article, the next one would be something completely different. And then once again, I wasn't consistent with it. And so by the time I started my YouTube channel, I had both 2 years, 3 years into blogging, it was like, let me learn how to do this right. And I read all this stuff. I was like, oh man, I am 3 years deep into setting myself up for failure. And I didn't want to start over, so I kept with it. But I should have just started over on blogging, but it turned out I learned all those lessons in failing and everything else with consistency, not having a clear brand, not having boundaries for what I covered, that I did a much better job by the time I started my YouTube channel. And it was a little bit more of figuring out where I could find traction rather than big mistakes that I learned. Because I look at it and I go, doing the movie trivia show, doing the movie news, none of those were mistakes. Those were just failed experiments. They were things where I iterated for a little while, and that wasn't the thing I could sustain. But then I found the thing, the movie rankings, that changed the trajectory of my life. And then in the movie space, I'm known as the ranking guy. But I figured that out by iterating and experimenting, but that wasn't a mistake or an accident. That was an intentional part of the process that to this day I'm still doing. The article video we keep going back to that about me reacting to someone else's article, that's a experiment that started within the last 6 months, that every time I do one of those, it works and people are interested. And so I wouldn't say there were any big mistakes. There's things that maybe I would have done it differently. I would have had a few more lessons, but it wasn't there were no big offshoots. Actually, the one thing I would say was a mistake, I started on TikTok 1 week before COVID lockdowns. I posted my first video on TikTok, and it was a movie review, and then I did a couple little goofy deals, and then COVID hit. And 1 year earlier, I had quit my job, freaked out my mom to talk about new movies, and then COVID happens, no new movies come out for 6 months, and then they're scattershot for a whole year, and people go to the theater. So when you review movies for a living and movies don't come out, you get terrified. So instead of continuing down the TikTok path, I went, let's go conservative and double down on YouTube and good ideas over there. Well, when did TikTok explode? During COVID. So all of my friends that exploded on TikTok started at the same time I did, but I stopped making TikToks. That would be the one thing that I would say is a mistake, where I made a choice that even if I'd done one per week something, I would be so much further along in that space.
I think you made a really good point. I want to underscore real quick, and we're going to talk about it. A lot of times we assume 10,000 hours is in one categorical field. And I like that you're basically pointing out there could be a lot of ways you get your 10,000 hours that translates to the thing that you're actually niche at.
In combining that with both saying I failed at blogging, failed at the website, also I had 10 years straight of weekly preaching to middle schoolers. If you can hold the attention of middle schoolers, you can hold the attention of people that want to watch a movie review. And then likewise, coming up with events that are interesting and just thinking into marketing, creating graphics like efficiently and quickly, video editing efficiently and quickly. Those were all things I had lots of at-bats for prior to July 2016 when I started the channel, which makes it very misleading to say, man, I grew my YouTube channel full time in 2.5 years. Sure. Also, I put up my first movie webpage over 20 years before that. I had 20 years of failure before I was an overnight success.
Sorry.
Hi. Well, first off, thanks for coming out and giving us your experience. I just have a question regarding, you mentioned sponsorships was your number 4 on how you monetize what you win. I was wondering, there you reached out to the sponsors, or the sponsors reached out to you based on your your growing community? And if you would have reached out to more sponsorships, do you think it would be higher, or?
Yes to every single one of those questions. For me, primarily, sponsorships come from people reaching out to me. That isn't something I've actively pursued, somewhat to what I just said. Once I started to, the way that I have typically done reaching out for sponsorships is they reach out to me, we do a sponsorship, and then I've got a month coming up, new Spider-Man movies coming out. I know I'm gonna have 5 videos that are all gonna do 100,000 views. So here are these sponsors I've worked with before. Email those people and say, hey, I've got this these 5 Spider-Man videos coming out in these 2-week window of time. Here's a track record. Every time I do a video like this, it does at least these numbers, and try to work with them again. There's a few places I've tried to reach out to try and work with someone that hadn't previously reached out to. I haven't had a ton of success with that. That is a place where, to the question of if I'd reached out more, if I'd done more in that category, would I have more success? The answer, I think, is absolutely yes. One of the questions I skipped over because I ran out of time was, who would I hire? One would be a video editor. The other one would be an admin. And I constantly think, should I hire a lady from my church to be my admin 10 hours a week? And that's exactly one of the things that I would have to do. Try and every week I have one sponsor. I do have someone that does some management for me now that, once again, they're that middle person that kind of tries to pull that in, but they work with a bunch of other people. So if I had someone that I was working with, I could directly give them guidance. Here's things where I think we could make something really cool happen. Here's where something really interesting could happen. Here's what I've worked with before. Email them. Here's the contact. Go work with it. And 1 per week. I don't want more than that because then it's a hassle, but 1 per week, we can do something cool. Here's videos coming up where these ones I want to sponsor, and here's what I can predict the video views will be. But say that once you reach a size, they start contacting you. That absolutely does happen.
Have you ever gotten into TV sitcoms at all, or no?
I do some television. I haven't necessarily gotten into sitcoms as much, besides a few videos about The Office that have started the paper, and if I wasn't so busy right now, I probably would have done something about it, because my videos ranking the seasons and the characters on The Office are some of my most viewed videos. They got 500,000 views before they moved The Office from Netflix to Peacock. It was just a viewing machine. And so I have in the past, I haven't. Television is tricky because there's so much of it, and it's more niche. And the audiences for it behave in a different fashion. We're like, oh, I'm into movies, or I'm into this TV show. People go hardcore into this one show. in a way that they can be meaner, and they're just more into it. That's their thing. That's their personality in a way that if you're not going to go all in with them, if you're not all in with them, there's a disconnect that it's tough to provide what people actually want. The way that I can be as passionate about movies, I'm just reviewing a TV show, and they're like, "What? This is my thing."
So how do you feel like current marketing strategies like TikTok and stuff like that have like revamped some older movies and TV shows to where they're big? Like I've never heard of How I Met Your Mother until like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's like one of my favorite TV shows. And then there's also like old movies like Clueless and whatever. How do you feel like that has helped current marketing?
Old movies.
Yeah, as well. That's
It's not that old, but it's not in the marketing the way current movies are in marketing, but it's still coming up on my TikTok feed or Instagram.
So the one that I'll use is the example for that is the TV show Dexter, which its main run started 19 years ago. They did just have a new season of it. One of the reasons it's had this huge revival where they had 2 different seasons of that show this year is because of TikTok. And people discovered all of these weird little clips of this serial killer that's killed serial killers and all the weird looks that he gives people. They give him, the guy named Dokes became a meme of like, I've got my eyes, I'm doing this stuff. And all of a sudden, this show that came out when all these TikTokers or people that consume TikTok were 3 years old, suddenly they're like, what is this show? And they go back and watch it, and the latest seasons have been huge hits. But this applies to other shows as well, like you said, How I Met Your Mother, which also came out 20 years ago. That is one of the absolutely fascinating little natures of TikTok, is that whether these montages of a character doing something, and Neil Patrick Harris's character doing all of his wild shenanigans or whatever, and you do a super cut of that, the funniest little bits, and all of a sudden new people are introduced to the show, and because of streaming, you have access to it in a way that when we were growing up, you didn't have access to old shows. You only had it when it aired on television, and streaming makes it so you see this clip on TikTok, what's this show? Let me go check that out. And all of a sudden you get sucked into the way that I was back in 2006 or whatever. But that's happened with Breaking Bad and a number of these other just shows that they get picked up by some corner of TikTok, as well as Facebook Reels and everything like that. And they're just clipping out these little segments, and it just goes viral. It's free marketing, millions, billions of views, promoting a 20-year-old show. And the studio spent $0. It is 100% fan-driven in discovering a new set of fans.
In a career that's not very openly religious or talked about much, how do you kind of incorporate your religion into that kind of outlet?
So I try to overtly not in any way make it a front door issue. Like if you came to my channel, it's not like I start off with an intro saying, hey, I'm the former pastor that's now reviews. Like, it's nothing remotely like that. Some of it's the simple factor of I'm in a space where almost everyone is crass. So the simple fact that I don't use bad words and I talk about my kids a lot makes me stand out. And just because I do that, frequently people are like, did you used to be a youth pastor? You talk kind of like a youth pastor. There's a little bit of that. Some of it's as simple as using the other things that I still do youth retreats and stuff like that. And when I do that, I will post about that on my channel. I'm a youth leader at my church. I'll post about that. And whenever we do a stupid game and I'm covered in, they threw barbecue sauce on me 2 weeks back, so I took pictures of it, posted across my social media. It's just a way to be like, this is who I am. Like, who's the person that's doing these reviews? This is who I am. I don't want to review movies overtly through the lens of the Bible, and at the same time, I can't divorce that from who I am. I'm still a youth leader at my church, and so I've spent over 20 years working with teenagers. So movies that are part of that high schoolers where they're trying to get to a party to do drugs in each other. It's a genre that neither spoke to the life I've ever lived, and overtly romanticizes and celebrates behavior that I dedicated 20 years of my life trying to get teenagers to not behave in that. So I can't like it's a genre of movies that overtly don't connect with, so I tend to not review them as much, and it's difficult for me to not, in some sense, be like, this is a movie that's like literally celebrating really shady stuff. And so I don't want to review a movie based off its morality, but there's sometimes where that's kind of what comes up from it. But some of it's just letting it know who I am. And then I guess the quick final piece to get a little emotional, personal side to it. Like the reason I stopped being a youth pastor is because I had my own personal struggles that I ended up having to go to rehab. Of the stress of being a youth pastor, like took a toll on me, and I responded in the wrong way. And so I resigned to seek help and went to rehab. So on my sobriety date every year, I share my testimony. And this is what I did for a living. I was a youth pastor, and then I formed a drinking problem, and I went to rehab. And by the grace of God, it's been 9 years, and I haven't had a drink. And if you're struggling, I've been there, and I made it to the other side. And when I was stuck in the middle of addiction and just embarrassed that my life would be over, when you're the drunk pastor, when you're a pastor, your reputation is your career, it's your life, it's how everyone perceives of you. What if I let people know what I'm struggling with? And everyone, even pastors, have sin and struggles. It'll literally lose my job over this. And so then I kept hiding it. Well, that's a story that needs to be shared. So I share my story and my testimony on my YouTube channel every single year. And the first time I did it, it was like I was scared that how people would respond. Would I be rejected? Would I be embarrassed? And overwhelmingly, people are encouraged by my story because I literally was unemployed when I started my YouTube channel and in rehab working day labor at a local elementary school, building the desks there. That's the only work I could get because my career was Bible and Bible teaching, and I couldn't get a job at a church when I'm in rehab. And 2.5 years later, I was the guest speaker at Career Day with the most interesting job, YouTuber. Well, that's an incredible redemption story, and it's an incredible grace story. And so that's one of the things I share in my story, and then tying it back even in a marketing sense, it's interesting. It's one of the things that makes me interesting is that I'm kind of known for being a wholesome guy on YouTube, and I started it in rehab, not the most wholesome of details. And it's a story worth sharing. So that's kind of what that looks like for me.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Have you ever done clickbait videos to get more views?
In a sense. I mean, clickbait can mean a lot of different things. You can see a video, here's a list of celebrities that died in 2025, and it has a picture of Hugh Jackman. Well, Hugh Jackman did not die in 2025, so that's just a lie. Or the video says, you won't believe which celebrities did this. And they have a picture of someone that did not do that. That's clickbait because it's a lie. Clickbait can also mean you created an enticing, intentionally provocative title and thumbnail. I think at the end of the day, it boils down to, does the video actually deliver on that? If you do a good job of thinking of what my enticing title and thumbnail is before you create the video, you craft the video to actually earn the provocative title. So that's kind of the key piece in it of, the reason people click on clickbait is because it creates an itch that the video scratches. So if the video actually scratches the itch, was it clickbait? So that's the way I think about it. Have I done overly provocative titles? Yeah, maybe. Have sometimes I intentionally kind of leaned into, sure. Hopefully I've never lied to people. And in particular, having kids that, they watch these YouTube videos watch this and you can get this Fortnite weapon, and then the video has nothing to do, it's just a lie. They're just literally tricking kids as an overt lie. I've never done anything remotely like that, but overly yikes, and might make a crazy face and flames behind me. Have I done stuff like that? Yeah. But you're just trying to figure out, how do you stand out? How do you entice people? How do you create that itch that the video scratches? But does my product actually deliver? Does it have value? Is it entertaining? Is it insightful? That's what you're aiming for. So Even on some of these ones that, with reacting to other people's lists, I'll intentionally have a video that implies that my opinion is what this other person said. But the video is me agreeing with the audience. This person's crazy for this, but the thumbnail makes it look like it's my opinion, so people click because I think I said something crazy, but instead what it delivers is me, energetically roasting someone else's insanely bad take. So
It was crazy when you said Batman Forever was the best Batman. I didn't really understand that one. Thanks again, Sean. Well done.